Today, we are honored to welcome a leader whose work has shaped long-term care across Canada for decades. Jeff Renaud is widely respected for his steady, thoughtful, and visionary leadership in the sector, and for his unwavering commitment to enhancing the lives of seniors. As the Chief Executive Officer at Bennett Village in Georgetown, Ontario, Jeff leads an organization deeply rooted in community, compassion, and a mission of dignified aging.
I personally feel like, Heather, there's no greater service on the entire planet than caring for older adults.
What makes Jeff's story especially compelling is that his path to gerontology began long before he ever stepped into an executive role. Growing up, his family instilled in him a profound respect for older adults, and his early experiences helping to care for his grandparents played a powerful role in steering him toward a career dedicated to seniors' well-being.
While I wasn't very good at it or attentive to details, there was an expectation that, the kids would help out around the house and help out with the care of our grandparents.
Those formative moments shaped not only his professional journey, but also the values that continue to guide his leadership today. I'm Heather Maxwell, and I would love for you to join A Minute with Maxwell Mission in Motion. Hello, Jeff. It is so good to see you again, and thank you for joining us today.
Sure. Thanks, Heather. Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So before we dive into your important work at Bennett Village, I'd love to start with you. Everyone has a story, what brought them to where they are today, and I think our listeners will really appreciate hearing yours. Can you share a little about your own journey, the experiences that have influenced you, and what has shaped the leader you are today?
I think I would let people know that I started off in the provision of care and service of seniors from a pretty young age. So my mom's parents came to live in our home when I was about 13 years old. While I wasn't very good at it or attentive to details, there was an expectation that the kids would help out around the house and help out with the care of our grandparents. And having that kind of an intergenerational household, really took away any discomfort around, caring for older adults and seeing some of the journey that they were going through. And so I can tell you absolutely that it wasn't long after that experience that I went on in my, young adulthood to volunteering in a long-term care home and wanting to spend my career, knowing that I wanted to spend my career caring for older adults.
Wow.
So it was that home experience for sure.
That's amazing, Jeff. I never knew that story that you just shared. Thank you for sharing that. So you were just 13 years old, really, when you started caring or helping to care for your grandparents. And that's something we have in common because I was about 13 or 14 when my mom ran a retirement home, and I would go there just to sort of help out. And so, wow, that's great. I love hearing that. So that obviously stuck with you throughout your life. And now you are the CEO of Bennett Village, a long-term care home in Georgetown, Ontario. So who or what, and this might go back to your story about your grandparents, but who or what has had the biggest influence on how you approach leadership?
So I'm a servant leader, and for those who don't know, I stand completely in service for the stakeholders that are part of Bennett Village. So that means that I'm driven by ensuring that my staff, our residents, our families, everything that I do stands in service of Bennett Village in terms of the mission, vision, and values, and ensuring that everything that I do is driven by an altruistic need to ensure that they get good care, that our staff are well cared for, that they feel supported. So I live by a philosophy that there's no job beneath me, even as a CEO, that's too good for me. I was just saying to somebody this afternoon, I keep an apron in my office. I serve coffee and tea. I'll pick up a mop and mop the floor if I see a spill. I often porter residents and walk with them and take them outside. And so it's really that philosophy that we're all part of the same team. Our organization is very flatlined, concave, if you will, where the leader's behind and he's supporting everybody in their everyday. And it's just a Greenleaf philosophy that I've really preached and practiced for throughout the course of my career.
That's amazing. And so that actually brings me to my next question. Long-term care, as we know, especially going through COVID and some of the less than positive stories that were in the news about long-term care, it can be a very misunderstood sector, but it is an incredibly meaningful sector. And so what drew you specifically to this role as CEO?
As I mentioned, I've volunteered. I've been in the long-term care sector for now 35 years of my career. I have an undergraduate degree in kinesiology and gerontology, a post-baccalaureate degree in gerontology, a master's degree with a focus in gerontology. And for me, it was really recognizing that many young people are not drawn towards caring for older adults in the provision. But for me, it was having the foresight to see that, we'd have a baby boomer population that would potentially overwhelm the system, the healthcare system, and a need for young professionals to move into that field. But it's really, I personally feel like, Heather, there's no greater service on the entire planet than caring for older adults. And behind that is really the wisdom that they can share, the life experiences, whether they're wrong or right. We learn from our parents, and without our parents and their parents and aunts and uncles and the people that have built our communities and our country, you and I wouldn't be who we are today. And those formative years are really what have kind of driven me to, want to stay in long-term care and see long-term care homes and providers succeed across the country, really.
Mm-hmm. It is so important. And for the first time in history, we know that we now have more seniors than children. And so long-term care is significantly impacted at this point in time.
100%.
Right. And so, Jeff, how would you describe Bennett Village's role and impact in the Georgetown community?
Yeah, it's a great question, Heather. First off, we know that Georgetown is massively underbedded in terms of the number of long-term care beds that they need. So my role here is one of coming in to build a new long-term care home and increase the capacity that's in the community. And I would say that our role is really to advocate for seniors here and to, provide comfort for the community of Georgetown that there is an organization, we're not for profit, and we are here, that there are community partners and board members that are as equally passionate as I am to ensuring that there are long-term, safe places for seniors to age in place, right? And so that's really the mission of Bennett Village, is to build an entire village designed for older adults where aging happens in an enriching, supportive, and safe community setting. And I absolutely am thrilled to honor that vision by doing what I can to build capacity.
That's amazing, Jeff. And I know that you are just in the throes of redevelopment at Bennett Village as well. So can you tell us a little bit about the redevelopment and where that's at and how that is going to help the community?
Yeah, so we currently operate a 66-bed long-term care home, a 106-bed life lease seniors living complex. And the project to build a replacement home is really one of, we currently lease the space from the Georgetown Hospital. They are underbedded by about 130 beds and could probably use that space as well. But they're also redeveloping a new hospital for Milton and Georgetown and area and Halton Hills. And so for me, we're at the beginning. We're kind of starting over. It's a new application. We have a new ministry project team, and we've just finalized the preliminary drawings. They've been accepted at the ministry level, and now we're in the licensing portion where we look at our funding, arranging to have some money because we have to provide some equity, and we have an architect. We probably have some vendors we want to work with, but I'm optimistic that we'll be able to put a shovel in the ground by about this time next year. So we're in our infancy, but for me, once you start put the shovel in the ground, the process moves quite quickly. So this will be my fifth or sixth redevelopment project that I've been involved in across Canada.
That's amazing, Jeff. That is so exciting that you'll have a shovel in the ground probably next year. And can you explain to people? I don't think many people understand the funding in long term care and how that works and how you have to raise a lot of money. You, meaning Bennett Village, obviously, the organization, has to raise a lot of money as well to help with this redevelopment. So can you explain that to people, how much work goes into just even raising the funds, the capital funds that are required?
Yeah, so the ministry has done a great job. They've come out with a new construction funding program, which we will be participating in. And basically, they've seen the need. Advantage Ontario has been an excellent advocate for not-for-profit operators across Ontario. And really, the ministry has seen and heard that a lot of not-for-profit operators, we don't have big bank accounts because we bend that money back into service provision and caring for our people, including our staff and our residents, and making sure they get the best. So they've come up with a new program to say, listen, we'll fund not-for-profit operators to the tune of about 85%. We'll front load and give you some money. So if your building costs $90 million, we'll give you $14 million of cash equity to help a lender, to help a developer, an operator like Bennett Village, get the shovel in the ground. Upon substantive completion of the project, we'll give you another $14 million, and then we'll post construction. We'll give you the rest of the money over time to help pay down the mortgage and the cost of construction. But that leaves us 15%. And if you don't have any money, you have to come up with creative ways to raise money. So realistically, I think our goal in this community is to raise $5 million. And we need the community to get behind us, because without the community, the project really goes nowhere. And the unfortunate thing is, if we don't rally around that kind of cause, Heather, our moms and dads, our aunts and uncles, our grandmas and grandpas, they have to go out of our community to find a bed to live in. And that's awful. That's just awful. So that's the impetus for us to get the project going. And I think the ministry, to their credit, has had the foresight to recognize we have to invest more in seniors building and developments.
Yeah, that is so true. And as they say, Jeff, it takes a village, doesn't it, to really
100%.
make this happen? Yeah,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
unbelievable. And
Yep.
so, can you tell us, Jeff, as well, what new design or program elements excite you most about the redevelopment?
Well, it's hard to kind of pinpoint any specific thing, so almost every long-term care home that gets out of the ground now are, they have some level of LEEDs or silver LEEDs compliance, so that they're energy efficient. They have better windows. We have storm drains. We have to start building buildings that are designed for radical weather systems and short-term negative weather patterns that come in, flood, fire, and those types of things. And we see that in buildings that are built in a lot of rural communities that might be surrounded by woods and things like that. So, we have to make sure that we're building a building that can withstand environmental pressures. But we're also in a phase, I think, where we'll be able to see the physical building adopt more artificial intelligence in terms of lighting systems, so that we have a responsive system that. So the last building I was involved in, we had a lighting system where a staff member would walk down the hall and the light in front of them would come on while the light behind them turns off, so that we're looking at things like energy efficiency. How are we using solar panels, right? So I think those types of things really excite me. I love design, build. It was part of my master's degree. And I think we'll see more of that with a bent on AI utilization in, how we staff, right? And just how we do call outs and things like that.
Amazing, the technology that is
Right.
coming down now, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing. Will there be any sustainability or green building practices with this building, Jeff?
So we talk about leads, and it's a basic requirement now from most municipalities that is some modicum, some measure of lead, greening out a building, and so you have to look at the exterior cladding, windows. We want to make sure that there's no glare that is going to damage the green space around the property. You have to have a certain amount of green space on the property. You have to have a swale or a storm drain that's kind of also green thinking, right? We see a lot of long-term care homes, especially in the West, like British Columbia, that are really big on recycling. So they'll have bioorganic programs, and they'll set aside food waste so that it can be used for the creation of biofuel, right? So how far in we get into that, I'm not sure yet. And it really is community driven. And so, we'll do a bunch of town hall meetings at the community level. We'll gauge the interest from the municipality to determine, what kinds of things that they would like to see, like collection of rainwater, right? So there's all kinds of things you can do, but there's also a cost to managing those programs, right? And it's going to be a matter of which programs are going to give the most value for the building itself.
Yeah, it's always a balancing act in long term care because there's not unlimited dollars available, unfortunately, right?
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And so, Jeff, you talked a lot about the physical building, which of course is very important. But another matter near and dear to my heart is the staffing and the staff and the leadership that you will have or that you will bring in, obviously, to work at the new site. And so, can you tell us a little bit? Can you talk a little bit about your people strategy and what you will be doing to attract people that you need to the new build?
Yeah, so I can say with 100% certainty that the staffing strategy has already started, even though we're not even shovels in the ground, and we're probably 3 years, 2.5 years away from building a building. We've already started in a recruitment strategy with an emphasis in when we're doing orientation, when we're onboarding and interviewing new potential staff members, of talking about the potential for advancement within the organization. We're already starting to mention specifically our new building and roles and responsibilities for that. And so everything that we do, we've already started to enhance our software system. So staff scheduling software is going to be enhanced now so that the systems are in place for when we onboard new people. And we'll start to see a rollout where we have an efficient system in HR, because we're all doing HR off the corner of our desk right now. And so it's a very specific, targeted approach to bringing people in now with the understanding that they're going to help us onboard many employees over the future. So we're 66 beds. We have 100 employees. When you're 192, you're going to move to 300 employees, right? So, or 350 or whatever that number is. So right now I'm focused on upskilling my management team, enhancing the management team with the understanding that this is not the end for you. There's going to be more roles and responsibilities, right? So it's cross training the management team and starting to really specifically talk to frontline staff, and offering opportunities of frontline staff to bridge train from a PSW to an RPN, from an RPN to an RN. So that's and making sure that we have money budgeted to upskill those staff, right?
That's amazing, Jeff. And
Yeah.
Gallup just came out with a study that said development of staff is one of the top ways to keep them engaged and retained, as well
Yeah.
as having a coaching culture. So developing your staff and
Yeah.
showing them those opportunities for advancement and also coaching them as well. Those are kind of the top ways to ensure your staff stay engaged and retained. So kudos to you for already having the foresight to have started that. That's amazing. This podcast is brought to you by Maxwell Management Group. For nearly 2 decades, we've worked side by side with individuals, teams, and organizations to uncover what makes them exceptional and to help them grow from the inside out. It's not just about reaching goals, it's about creating success that feels deeply authentic and genuinely meaningful. Organizations like people have stories, and when those stories are rooted in purpose, they become powerful forces for attraction, culture, and identity. We are committed to partnering with brands that want to lead with intention, cultivate vibrant workplace cultures, and become the kind of employer that top talent seeks out, not because of perks, but because of purpose. Over the past 18 years, I've had the privilege of leading Maxwell Management Group's growth into a highly specialized national executive search and education firm, one that thrives on values, vision, and the belief that when people lead with purpose, extraordinary things happen. To find out more about our executive search, recruitment, and education services, please visit us at maxwellmanagementgroup.com.
I was just going to say, for people that would be interested in developing in homes, when you start a development project, it happens so fast. Like you think, oh, we're not going to redevelop, the home's not going to open for 3 years. But once you actually start building in the actual construction, those 2 years of physical construction, they go by so quickly that if you're not working on the guts of the programs, the people part of the service programs, if you don't do that right away and start now, you're going to be so far behind the 8 ball, you won't be able to open, right?
Yeah, that is so true, especially when you need hundreds of staff, right? That is so important to get started as soon as possible. So good for you. And, looking at the next 5 to 10 years, Jeff, what do you think will be the biggest shift in long-term care?
It's a great question, Heather. I did give a lot of thought to, what we would see. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to have a system for sure in the next 5 years that's going to continue to be overwhelmed and more responsive as opposed to being more proactive in caring for seniors. Just it's a simple numbers thing, right? We know from compression of morbidity and the aging population that the peak of seniors growth is going to happen around 2035, and we're far away from that, right? 2031 we'll crest the hill a little bit, but 2035 we'll start to see a little bit more of a dramatic drop off. And that's just a cohort of baby boomers moving through the system. Well, if we don't have enough infrastructure in place now to support them, and we have in Ontario 40,000 people on a wait list for a bed, we're not well positioned over the next 5 years to adequately tamp that down, that demand for services. So I think we're going to see, if my education has helped me do anything, we're going to see a lot of tough times ahead, because we haven't been proactive enough as maybe other jurisdictions and other countries have, right? You know, aging has to be deeply embedded in the community and not really stand alone. We should be talking about aging in place, and like you and I did, we started understanding aging by having our parents and our grandparents living at home. Our whole culture has to shift in order for us to get to that kind of paradigm. There should be tax incentives for caregivers, better tax incentives for caregivers to want to have their moms come and live with us, right? You know, yeah. So it's going to be tough times if I'm being honest. Now I'm sure you'll probably get somebody call in, Heather, and say that guy doesn't know what he's talking about, and I'm okay with that.
No, I
You
agree
know,
with you. The demographics don't lie. The demographics don't lie. And it is a bit of a tsunami right now, right? With the demographics, and we're really not well equipped as we should be at this point, right? I think most of us agree, I think, on that. But it's not, I don't think it's all doom and gloom either. It is definitely a challenging time. However, we've got some good ideas and good programs coming out, like nursing homes without walls, right? And some really good programs that I think will definitely benefit our sector and our aging population. Can you talk about any of that as well, Jeff?
yeah, I mean the program that the ministry announced a couple of weeks ago, LTC Without Walls, of having people in the community avail themselves of long term care services for ADLs, activities of daily living. It's a tremendous idea. It's a great project. Transitioning ALC beds into unused long term care beds is another great program that we piloted at Ritz Lutheran Villa in Mitchell years ago. They're great programs, but the mitigating factor, the bottleneck, like supply chain management, is always going to be the availability of frontline staff, right? So we need to have resources, and if we can't hire resources because the specification or the requirements for the legislative requirements to onboard a PSW, if you can't get a vulnerable sector check from your local police department in a timely fashion, that impacts your ability to hire somebody. And so your programs are only good as the people you have. So that's my only caveat. I'm not saying that they're not wonderful programs. It's great thought, but there's a difference between the thought process and the real life implementation of a great program, right? You know that, right? You've been
Mm-hmm.
around a long time, so you know.
So true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, Jeff, maybe can you share a story, or perhaps like whether it's about a resident or a family, that captures why this work matters so much to you personally?
Yeah, there's probably 1,000 stories up here in the brain. I think the best stories are one where at Bennett Village here we had an older resident come in, highly agitated, some degree of dementia, and wasn't really transitioning. He came in a wheelchair, and so he was non mobile. And within 3 weeks, we had him up and walking, unassisted, without a wheelchair, but doing physio. And the family was, we were all amazed that here he is walking to and from, going to and from the dining room, without the need for a wheelchair, right? So he transitioned from, came in a wheelchair, transitioned to, we asked him to use a walker, got him a walker, and we could see the improvement almost instantaneously by having, we have great staff here, an amazing team of people, and when you can provide that support structure around a resident and then see them really thrive and take off, that's like gold, right? That's everything that we work for in this field.
That's person centered care, right?
100%. Yeah.
And that is exactly why this work is so meaningful, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing what changes sometimes you can see in someone. That's amazing, Jeff. And so,
Yep.
if you could give one piece of advice to leaders or even young professionals considering a career in long term care, what would that be?
You know, Maxwell Management offers some great programs. Heather, you guys have been, I think you and I gravitate towards each other because I see your passion. I love you for that. By the way, I like you a lot for that. And I would say
Likewise,
for young
likewise.
people, yeah, right. I'd say our job is to um, you know, transport that passion into young people so that they feel like it's a worthwhile career to be in. My job is to share that passion so other young people want to understand and come on board and make a meaningful contribution to our society. And I think the one message I would say to your young podcast audience is that there are so many opportunities, and the sector is not poor paying, maybe like it used to be considered. I was one of the first people to advocate for a PSW wage enhancement before COVID or during COVID. And, saying to audiences that our PSWs deserve to be paid, $25, $30 an hour, because the work at the front line it's tough, but it's rewarding and they deserve it. It's skilled labor and they deserve to be recognized for the labor that they do. So we're starting to see a transition that PSWs are more recognized than ever, but they're also, they're not making nothing anymore. It's more of it's a career in as much that you can support a family, in a frontline role. I think that's one of the important messages, and it's so meaningful.
It is absolutely, and I agree with you. You were definitely. I know we've known each other for years, and we've had many of these conversations. And you were definitely one of the first people that I remember that did advocate for fair
100%.
wages, especially for the frontline staff. It's just so critical and important, right? That there's a living wage
Absolutely.
for people that are working in these roles because it's not an easy role, as we know, right?
Yeah, it takes a high degree of empathy. It takes a high degree of patience to be, knowing you can get spit on, you can get kicked, you can be told off, and you still have to, are expected to come back the next day and put a smile on your face and provide care. Right? That's amazing, and people that can do that, you are golden. And to your listeners, if you are doing that, I thank you. It's amazing what you do for our residents every day.
It really
Yeah.
is. And so, Jeff, if you had to name sort of the top two or three ingredients of truly high quality long term care, what would they be?
You have to be honest. You have to have integrity. You have to have passion for wanting to do it. And we know long-term care doesn't attract people that do it for the work and not do it for the resident. And I think we see that in every industry. I just need a job, but you have to be passionate. You have to have integrity and do what you say and say what you do. And you have to have tough skin. You have to have thick skin, right? And be okay to recognize that you're going to have a bad day, but there are good leaders and people that will support you. And that if you have a good leader and someone that's willing to support you, then you're well on your way to being successful.
Yes, that I couldn't agree more with that. That is so true. And so, I am just wondering on a personal note, Jeff, what is something that most people wouldn't know about you and, that you would like to share?
Uh, Most people wouldn't know that. Well, you probably could tell that I like to talk. I'm not afraid. I was a public speaking champion in like grade school and high school. But most people wouldn't know that I worked in film and television and danced and
Oh,
was a professional actor and stuff like that. So I don't share that broadly, but I studied ballet and modern dance, and Yeah, hip hop and all that stuff, tap and yeah,
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I did
yeah.
not know that about you. I love it. I learned something new today. That's
It was a long
amazing. I
time
love
ago when
it.
I had more hair.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. What really stood out today is that long term care isn't just about buildings or programs, but can you tell us, if there is someone out there that is, has a parent, a grandparent, a loved one that they, are looking at long term care and potentially, need that service, can you tell us what they should consider, what they should be looking at and considering when they're looking at long term care sites?
Yeah, I mean, 100% a red flag is, you going to check out a long-term care home for your mom or your dad, and nobody says hello to you. Nobody welcomes you. People don't even look your way. People don't smile. They're not friendly. Red flags. I've worked in probably more than 150 long-term care homes across Canada, and I can pick out a bad home in the first 5 minutes that I'm in there, even walking up to the front door. How are the grounds kept? Is it clean? Is it tidy? Is it nice? Does it look bright and fresh and welcoming? And if you walk into a building and you're standing around waiting for someone to approach you and say hi, that's usually not a great indicator that you're going to get quality care. So it's really, what I've always said that, the I ran a long term care home in the Northwest Territories, and it was built out of stones and panabode logs. It had a log cabin feature, and honestly, the home was old, but the care was exceptional. The people cared because everybody knew each other in a small community. So when you go in there, you want to look and see how attentive to the residents the people that work there are, right? And if you will know right away, you will know. I promise any of your listeners, when you walk in the front door, you will be able to tell right away by the interaction of the staff to the residents whether it's a good home or a bad home. And if nobody says hi to you, approaches you, then you can turn around and walk out, right? And yeah, we're busy, but we should all take time to greet people, answer questions, show them around, and say hi, right? So it's about being kindness and seeing that kindness, visibly seeing that kindness in action.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
It really, it is still a customer service, profession and sector, right? At the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. We're there to serve.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
And so, just circling back to your own career, Jeff, can you tell us sort of maybe what has been a peak and what has been a valley for you in your career over the many years that you've been in long-term care? What would you say sort of has been the peak and the valley? And what would you tell people to consider if they're considering a career in long-term care as well?
Obviously everybody, we know COVID was tough on operators. The home that I operated during COVID, we didn't have a single resident outbreak in 4 years, not a single resident case. And that's because I had to rail against the system and make tough decisions that people weren't happy with. Before the first cases of COVID actually hit Ontario, our doors were closed for 3 weeks before the ministry implemented, lockdown facility. And so, the tough moments were people calling you Nazi because you can't go in and see your mom. The tough moments were people palliating, but being so afraid to get other residents sick that you couldn't let families in to sit with their loved ones during their final days. That was awful, Heather. But we got through it. The staff were better for it. Our residents, and then the peak. So that was a valley. That was a real trying time of uncertainty. I'd say the valley of that was having those same people that were calling you awful names coming back and saying, "Hey, you saved my mom's life, and because of you, I got another 3 years of being with my mother. So thank you." And it's that kind of, I don't need accolades. I don't need a lot of reward, but it's knowing at that time, those difficult times, that I was still committed to resident safety. I was still committed to, you know, giving the best resident care we could during a really crummy time. And, along the way is building a new long-term care home. Those are wonderful things. So for me, this role at Bennett Village is helping them to realize their vision of building a brand new home. I'm committed to that because the people in this community, like every community, they deserve to have good facilities that are there for people that want to stay in those communities, that have built those communities. That's what I live for. And for me, that's like, it's so rewarding to see something like that come to fruition. So for young people out there, I would say, when you get thanked, and a family member comes and says, thank you for caring for my mom, she lived her best years at the end of her years, and you were a big part of that, that's a great
Yeah.
reward, right? Those are great
Yes.
rewards.
Absolutely. And that's
Yeah.
called good leadership, Jeff. Sometimes we have to make very unpopular decisions
Yeah.
in challenging times, right? But that's good leadership. And at the end of the day, you save lives, really, right?
Well,
So
it's
that's
leadership, but I lost a lot of sleep, right?
sure.
And my hairline is making a beeline to my behind. Yeah.
COVID really was tough. I mean, in long-term care, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we just, the sector really took a beating, and there were all these, not so nice stories in the press. And it was such a challenging time. But thank you for your leadership, because, we got through it as best we could. But there
Yep.
were some hard and tough decisions that had to be made during that time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
learned a lot.
Yeah.
Heather, we learned a lot. And I think our system is, our long-term care system as a whole is healthier. I think our
Yeah.
ministry is way more responsive and open to dialogue, and much more genuine than they
Yeah.
ever were for years and years, right? Like, it used to be awful when a ministry inspector would come in. And I think they really got the message from operators that, hey, you need to tone down the rhetoric. We're not against you. We're all here for
Yeah.
the same goal, which is good
Yeah.
resident care. So we had to look at the outcomes. And I would say to any ministry people that ever listen to your podcast, I don't know, maybe that's not the audience, but thank you for, seeing the light and trying to be more accommodating to operators, right?
Yes. Yes. 100%. Coming in with an attitude of working together rather than being punitive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So important.
Is very helpful. Very
Yeah.
helpful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because as you said, we all have the same goal at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
And that's the
Absolutely.
dignity and care that our seniors deserve, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Jeff. That really resonates.
Yeah.
What really stood out today, again, is that long-term care isn't just about, the buildings or the programs. It's about the everyday moments of dignity, connection, and compassion. Jeff, your vision for Bennett Village captures that beautifully. Thank you for letting us into your story, and for reminding us all that when we invest in care, we're investing in the kind of community we all would like to grow old in. So thank you for sharing with us today, Jeff. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure, Heather. And it's nice to see you. And always look forward to seeing you at the convention and conference. So
Yes.
it's great. And great to work with you. So thank you. And thank you for your pioneering spirit, and what Maxwell Management has done as well. You guys are leaders for sure. So
Thank
stuff.
you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
She didn't pay me to say that. That's good.
Thank you, Jeff.
You better put that disclaimer there, eh? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. please feel free to visit our website at maxwellmanagementgroup.com. And also, please like and subscribe to our podcast wherever you download podcasts. Thank you for joining, and see you next time.